Hey everybody, it's Kevin here from Happy Beard Games, and today we are doing a jack-o'-lantern pumpkin carving video. I've got my pumpkin right here, getting all ready to carve it. I wiped it off, I made a template right here of what the image is going to be, and because, you know, I'm a video game channel, I'm a gamer, and one of my favorite game series is Castlevania, I did a poll on Twitter, you know, just asking what would be a good idea for jack-o'-lantern carving. I wanted to do a video game 8-bit one, and Castlevania 1, which was one that I was probably going to do anyways, but it just seemed a little ambitious, so I figured I could do a Pac-Man or a Mario or maybe a Donkey Kong one instead. So we're going with Castlevania this time, and this is what I came up with for the design. Basically the Castlevania logo at the top, heart for the heart 8-bit symbol, and then a bat from Castlevania style. And it should be a lot of fun on Hybrid Games carving this pumpkin into a Castlevania jack-o'-lantern. Let's do this! Alright, so we got our pumpkin in the kitchen. We're about to carve it. You gotta carve it at a 45-degree angle, so otherwise not straight down, but at an angle. Not straight down, angle, okay? And you go around the circle there to move the stem and the roots of the stem, and then we're gonna take the spoon and scoop out all the innards into this bowl. I've got some paper towels just in case it gets messier than I expect. Don't know if I'm doing this right, but I think I am. So let's just dig in. Literally, start, how much of a circle do I want? I guess like right here. It's like, wow, it's really deep in there. Might cut some of this stuff off later, but put that right there. Let's look at this bad boy inside. Not much you can see in there, but there's a lot of gunk in there. Kind of hard to see like what I'm doing because I can't really see it. So I'm actually using the camera to kind of help me. The camera's screen. I'm just going to reach in and grab it. This feels really gross on my hands, especially when I can't see what I'm doing. It just feels like mush with like hard clumps in it, which is really gross. I'm going to wash my hands off for an hour, and then, yeah, I mean, it's probably not going to stay on my hand that long, but it feels like my hands are really gross right now. Alright, here is our gutted out pumpkin. We've got it all cleaned up and all ready to go. That's what the inside looks like. And we are about ready to carve this pumpkin into a true jack-o'-lantern. The next step is to draw with a Sharpie on the pumpkin what the picture is going to be, like an outline essentially. And on this paper, I indicated that, just so I wouldn't forget, that this is, these three lines in that kind of diagonal pattern is like a half cut. I'm going to try doing half cuts on this. And then like the completely black spots, or even like that scribble spot inside the heart, is completely cut out. So let's just kind of shave it off. I don't know how people do this, really. You know, it'd be good if I used a video service like YouTube to look up a video on how he'll make this, but I'm just kind of winging it for some reason. It looks pretty good. So it's kind of like peeling an apple, I guess. A really big apple. The big apple. So far, it's coming out alright. It's gonna like be very careful not to dig too deep. It's okay to make the scratch marks on it, I guess, but I'm just not sure how deep this can go yet. So we'll figure that out when we get to this part right here. I'm kind of keeping an idea in my mind how this is going to look. I'm probably going to cut these holes before I get onto that part, but we're going to shave it first. We're just gonna stick with the bat, and then I'm gonna write Castlevania on the top somehow really carefully. You can see I've got this technique that I'm trying to figure out, where if you kind of use the tip of the knife, and you kind of cut along the edge of this outline, then when you're going that way, it'll know when to stop. The fold of the like whatever you're ripping off will know when a place to stop because there's an edge there, so it kind of like goes along the side of it, but you don't want to go too deep because this thing can cut really deep. And this knife's really sharp too. This is really like it's brand new kind of. Oh, another thing I'd like to point out is this part is dry, of course, the outside of the pumpkin, but inside it's wet, so it's a little bit slick. There we go. We got the bat carved. It looks like a bat. It's shaped like a bat, but it needs eyes and it needs some more detail. So we're gonna try something different here, different technique. And that is cutting out eyes, like a square there, and some lines right there to make it look like wings. I was going to cut them out, but now that I'm looking at it, maybe I could just do like lines. Like cut full lines into the hole. And that would give it a texture to it, or like some kind of dimension and depth to it. Okay, now I'm seeing what my mistake was. I don't know if you can see this on camera very well, but look how deep that is. That's how thick the pumpkin is. Like looking in the eye. That's really deep. I didn't carve it nearly deep enough. I was afraid that I would cut through it when I was doing the shaving part, but I was nowhere near as close to as deep this thing is. It goes in really far. It goes in like an inch or so. So I need to shave it a lot more. So this is going to take a little bit of time, but you can see the basic shape here, and I will get it to the right spot eventually. You can see we've got the bat there with his little eyes. We're going to make some lines on here too as well, just like carved lines, like poking lines. They're a little bit thicker than the knife size for the wings, and then we're going to start shaving it a little more on the detail on this part right here, so that way it'll actually shine through, because it's like really, really thick compared to what I thought it was. Be careful the first time you put it in, but then you can kind of like wiggle your way through it. Be careful putting it in the very first time you put in the knife. I don't want to poke anyone. The depth, maybe like a little bit less than halfway. Just more than I had already, for sure. So now it's got a little more depth to it, as you can kind of see through the cuts there. Let's give it another look. So I know it's not completely dark, but this is what it looks like with some of those LED green candle lights inside it. And it's not completely perfect, but I think we're going to keep it at that for now. We're going to work on the Castlevania logo on the top, though, for the rest of this video. I want to have a really big V on there, because that's one of the main parts of the title Castlevania. And it's also in the very center of it, so I can center it around the bat. This isn't the exact font of Castlevania, but it's a font that I thought of when I was drawing this that could be easily done with slits on the pumpkin. So a lot of straight lines and hard edges. So far, so good. Altogether on this project, I've learned a lot about pumpkin carving, learned some mistakes, learned from my own mistakes, learned things that I didn't know about pumpkins, and it's been a lot of fun so far. So I highly recommend carving pumpkins either this year or next year for Halloween if you're interested in doing that. I definitely recommend it. If you do a video game related pumpkin or any other kind of jack-o'-lantern project, I'd love to see it, so you can send that to me either this year or next year or whenever you guys do your own jack-o'-lanterns. It doesn't have to be Castlevania or anything really, I'd love to see it if you saw my video and you have your own jack-o'-lantern. I would like to see what you did. Now we're on to the C, which is going to be the big C, the purposefully bigger size and a different font style. Just like the original Nintendo game, Castlevania. Oops. One of my favorite games. And I'm wondering, should I just leave the C cut out completely? Like a big hole? Or should I, like, cut it like how it is on the outline? I'm not sure. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens when I get done with cutting the C. That was a pun, unintended pun. Alright, that was an awesome fun experience doing this jack-o'-lantern carving of a pumpkin. We made it look like this. Castlevania, yeah! Got the title Castlevania up there carved into the pumpkin, as well as an iconic bat, one of the first and most frequented enemies in the Castlevania game. Looks pretty cool, very iconic. Bat design there. I actually am pretty happy with how it turned out, considering I'm pretty much a beginner. Yeah, I'm a beginner. I haven't done this since I was a kid, and even then it wasn't to this extent. So it's probably the best jack-o'-lantern I've ever made. If you want to do something like this yourself, I highly recommend doing it. If you're just thinking about doing it, just go ahead and do it. Because it was a lot of fun. It didn't take too long. It took about an hour or two. But for the most part, it was pretty easy to do, and it was still fun. It might not be the best looking jack-o'-lantern around town, but it was a lot of fun and a good experience, and I'm glad that I recorded it and shared it with you guys. Alright everybody, thanks for watching today's Happy Beard Games. Happy Halloween. Have a great rest of October. Have a good GameTober. I have some other videos that came up this month that you might want to check out as well that are all GameTober and horror themed, as well as some fun videos for this Halloween. Alright everyone, thanks for watching Happy Beard Games. You can also check me out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And stay safe this Halloween. Alright everybody, bye!